A government that makes sure to provide the best service to its people is the best kind of government that any citizen can ever ask for. In South Africa, we all know what kind of government we've had to endure for the last 30 years, don't we? Not only do they not give us the best services, but they proudly speak as though they do. Before we get into it, welcome to Citizen Concerned, where we remind you to beware of the comrades. I'm Katlego and would appreciate it if you subscribed to our YouTube channel, liked and shared this video with other citizens. Listen to this man acting wise and educating us on his views. He starts off by running his mouth, encouraging President Ramaphosa to sign the much-hated BELA Bill. The only reason why he wants the BELA Bill is simply because he wants all our children to play together.
My apologies to those that are partners in the government of national unity. Comrade President, there is something that is called the Basic Education Amendment Laws. I'm asking you, President, politely and respectfully so, sign that law. Sign that law. There must be no institution here, President, when the 6th administration and this particular house has passed that particular law.
Look at his demeanor. He's a very egotistical man, a man who speaks with so much pride, expressing stupid views as if he's saying something of high worth, shaking his head and his finger as he speaks. Guys, I don't know about you, but when a person speaks with this kind of arrogance, it really, really irritates me. I don't want to lie. I mean, look at his mannerisms. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call political grandstanding. What is political grandstanding, you may be wondering? It's to talk and act to impress the onlookers. Anyway, although it bothers me to see grandstanders like this one, it is not a crime in itself. What I hate is the rubbish that comes out of their mouths when they do this. Listen to this.
But the law is simple. All our children must be in the same classroom and taught by the same teacher. What's wrong with that particular proposal? What's wrong with that particular proposal?
All our children must be in the same school and be taught by the same teacher. How does what he's saying even make any sense? I don't understand. South Africa is a massive country with different people based in different regions across 9 provinces. Hence, logic tells us that we can't all go to the same schools. Why is that hard to understand? This is all talk that is meant to make it seem like Panyaza Lesufi is out here for the people. He wants to act like some kind of social justice warrior. Citizens, I know it's tempting, but please learn to not fall for this stupid kind of stuff. Listen to more of his dumb logic.
That the language of teaching must incorporate all 12 languages.
Learners not only speak different languages, but they also have different capabilities and are based in different regions. So how does that make any sense? How? With millions of people or pupils across different regions, how is it possible for all our children to be in the same class taught by the same teacher? How? Some can't even speak at all. Others speak isiZulu, some English, some Sepedi, others Ndebele, others Afrikaans, and that is the way of life. The problem of people like Panyaza is that they have a habit of trying to force white people to play with them and their children. They are trying to force everyone to sit together. That is forced integration when it is not even warranted.
That there must be no language that is excluded. What's wrong with that particular proposal?
Imagine this guy. So instead of building more schools and hiring teachers in those schools, you would rather force other schools to accept children that don't speak the language taught them. You would rather force other schools to change how they are doing things. The population is growing, and all you can think of is how can we force more people into the schools that don't teach in black languages? And to some citizens, this sounds like a great move made by the ANC. Do you know what would have been a real great move? Building enough quality schools in all 9 provinces in the last 30 years. Don't act like you're doing something special here. The South African Schools Act of 1996 stipulated that all children between the ages of 7 and 15 are compelled to attend school. This has been in place long before the BELA Bill, but you have been failing to build enough schools for all 7 to 15-year-olds, and you want to blame it on someone else as usual. Additionally, you want to make it seem like this BELA Bill will resolve everything suddenly and automatically.
That every child that is in ECD must be a formal education system starting from ECD. What's wrong with that particular proposal? And therefore, President, sign that particular law. We'll debate later.
So this fool wants to force the government ECDs on us. We didn't send our kids to creche, and we don't regret it. Our first child knew more than many of his classmates when he got to grade 1. Why? Because my husband and I chose to educate him at home, teaching him how to count, read, know his basics, all before he got to grade 1. We gave him more attention than he would have ever received in a public creche or grade R. By the time he got to grade 1, he was among the best students in his class. He's actually starting to change now with the influence of his classmates and peers. These ECDs are not equal, guys. They are not. There is some poor quality service in some of those schools. But instead of ensuring high quality in all institutions, the ANC wants to take control of all of our children and destroy them with their substandard education. Instead of learning from and replicating what high-quality public schools are doing, he wants to force them to change their ways of working, all while sounding like he loves the black people of South Africa and is fighting for them.
And this is very important to us. I think this is a point that many people are missing, that as I'm speaking to you today, if you have a child in grade R, I've got and another child is in grade 1. The one that is in grade 1 will have access to school nutrition and scholar transport. The one in grade R, you have to pay for their meal, and you have to pay for their transport. So by signing this bill, every child will be equal. So a parent will not be burdened in separating 2 children that are coming from one family on the basis that the bill was not signed. So,
typical communist, finding joy in feeding people's children through feeding schemes instead of fixing the economy to ensure that parents have jobs and businesses that enable them to feed their own children. Oh, but if they do that, it will mean that they lose the control that they have over parents, and they don't like that. They enjoy making citizens very dependent on them and use that dependence to encourage the citizens to vote for them over and over again. Dear citizens, don't get it twisted. These feeding schemes are not there because the ANC loves you and your children. They are not something that you should be grateful for or elevating the ANC for. You should be demanding that they create an economic environment that yields employment opportunities so that you can feed your own children. Even in families, we know that a proper parent does not want their children to depend on them indefinitely or forever. Every proper parent's desire is to see their children stand on their own, succeed independent of the parent. But the ANC are sick parents that feel more valuable when citizens are constantly lacking and needing grants, feeding schemes, and endless support from the government. That is not love. It's a form of abuse. Tell us, Panyaza, are your children fed by the government feeding schemes? Let us know, please.
That there must be no language that is excluded. What's wrong with that particular proposal?
This man has a lot of nerve. Look at him. What's wrong with that? He asks. It sounds like what he is saying is very noble, but if you think about it, you'll realize that the ANC simply wants to have more control of the schools where they have not been able to infiltrate.
What is the importance of the president signing this BELA Bill?
It's a very important activity to ensure that there is truly an non-racial education system.
Non-racial education? Guys, what is he talking about? Tell me, where in the world do you find a non-racial society when you have people of mixed races? Tell me where. Growing up, we used to call the schools I went to multiracial schools because it was known that the children who attended there are of different races. We cannot deny it.
That there's no child who will be denied access to education on the basis that they speak a different language.
He says there should be no child denied education based on the fact that they speak a different language. Is this guy living under a rock? Children are not denied education based on speaking a different language. For example, I'm not satisfied with the school my son is in this year and have been applying to different schools for his grade 2. One of the schools I went to was an Afrikaans school, and since my son does not speak Afrikaans, he cannot attend that particular school. But does that mean my son has been denied education? No, it means he cannot attend that specific school and I have to apply at other schools, which I have. Panyaza just wants to exaggerate and blow things out of proportion, I tell you. I mean, even with jobs, if you can't speak the language that your potential employer wants the employees to speak, you will not get into that workplace. But it doesn't mean all doors of employment are closed to you. Even when dating, if we cannot understand each other, how can we get married? But just because I cannot marry you doesn't mean I can't marry anyone else, right? Programmers use different languages to create apps like TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook or YouTube. The ones who want to use their one programming language will not be hired by employers that want programmers who can create in other languages. C++, C++, Kotlin, or Java are all languages that are used to do work. And some programmers may be able to do some work that other programmers may not be able to do due to the programming languages they know. It may seem like you're being discriminated against on the basis of the programming languages you know, but the choices we make open certain doors and close other doors. For example, our children know English and no word of Afrikaans. This has closed the door to that great Afrikaans school. The kind receptionist advised us to get my son an Afrikaans tutor in the year 2025 so that he can join the school in 2026. It is now up to my husband and I to weigh the options, the pros and cons, because every choice provides advantages and disadvantages. As we stand, the advantages of getting him an Afrikaans tutor do not outweigh the disadvantages of him not learning Afrikaans. We have applied at 3 English schools and hope they will be great so that we won't need to look again. Now, him knowing English has opened certain doors for him. Him not being able to read in Sepedi has closed certain doors for him. Every choice we have made for him has advantages and disadvantages, and we need to evaluate the weight of each as we parent him. Such is life.
That all languages should be respected.
Panyaza says that all languages should be respected. But who is not respecting which language? This fool fails to understand that the reason why we have this problem in the first place is simply because there are not enough schools to begin with. And yet, we have thousands of unemployed teachers. Nobody stopped the government from building top-class schools that teach in Xhosa, Sesotho, Ndebele, or any other language. Maybe it is the government itself that is not respecting other languages, and now they want to make it seem like those who chose to respect the Afrikaans language are disrespecting all other languages. The ECD schools alone are not enough. And to make matters worse, the education department has cut down on the education budget. How crazy is all of this? But he comes out and speaks as if he cares deeply about your children and their education in public schools. If he cared as much as he pretends to, how did he allow this nonsense to happen?
The Gauteng Provincial Government's Portfolio Committee on Infrastructure Development and Property Management is visiting Maibuye Primary School in Tembisa. 6 years since its completion, the 82 million rand school stands idle because of safety and health concerns.
The construction of Maibuye Primary School began in 2015 with completion anticipated in 2017, but 7 years later, the school still requires some work and parents are not impressed.
Currently, at the old school that we are currently using, we have more than 1,800 learners who are there. And the new school that they built by the department, it only allows 1,200 and something learners. So we are not happy about it as parents, and we plead from the Department of Education that let them build additional classes.
Parents are not satisfied with the conditions that their children are exposed to and the temporary structures.
Lapana kuma containers akukorrect because of some esikhathini esiningi kumele kube ne-maintenance yama-classes kwenzela ukuthi abantwana bangazupho because of lapha roof adini ifloor yakhona amaplanga and angaphuka at any time. So last year kube ne-educator was affected by the same class, and last year kube ne-learner also was affected because of kumele yehle lapha nama-steps wakhona awekho right for ama-learners. So that's why we know sifuna ukuthi abantwana bethu baphume laphana kuma-containers baye kuma-new classes.
Since you care so much about quality schools for South African children, Panyaza, please tell us, who built the school that could not be occupied for years because your party, the ANC, built it on a wetland unsafe for a school to be in? Who built it?
It's been years since the Maibuye Primary School in Tembisa had been empty, and now since 2017. The Gauteng government couldn't provide the occupancy certificate due to safety concerns and the safety of fears. There were suspicions that the school had been built on a wetland. Today, 7 years later, school pupils are hoping that they'll finally be able to use the institution.
You would remember that the school was built in 2014. From 2017, it was already finished, but there were a lot of issues, including the fact that there was a sewer line that was going under the school. So the suspicions that it was on a wetland started from the fact that there were sewer lines, and that was a major hazard. So as a result, the Gauteng government deciding not to give that occupancy certificate. But
imagine a school whose construction started in 2014, completed in 2017, and yet still people failed to start using it. Meanwhile, the loudmouths like Panyaza are focusing on schools built by the apartheid government. Instead of addressing the issues that are really bothering parents, you focus on crappy ideas of creating hostilities among the citizens of the country. In Barcelona, we heard the granny begging you to build a school for her grandchildren after you had failed there too.
President, igama lami ngugogtsidi waseBarcelona eThwatwa.
Yes, ma'am.
Ongikuzele lana ngizele ikolo kakhulu ngizele isikolo saseBarcelona sibizwa Barcelona Primary School. Comrade Panyaza uyasazi ngamehlo, and then nalo meya wethu ongene comrade angenile esikhundleni sakhe manje uyasazi nalo wena baba ongenile esikhundleni sakhe uyayazi lesikolo lesiyana ukuthi asisikolo amagogogo. President, sihambile lesikolo lesi saka 1996 lesikolo lesana ku amagogogo sizamile ukuthi sihambe wonke ama department. Senizokutshela into ya leviki lena manje ngile lapha e-district ngafika ngakhuluma no director lapha yana ngimbuza director ngoba uloku uyasemisa siyamacha siyenzani mangabheka leskipa sami lena president sina nogogo ohlele ebhaketeni ayithuma ngoba abantwana bethu ithi makufanele ukuthi badle ingene imoto bukhona lama toilet la wenu lana kuza imoto izowacleana bukhona lama toilet la president lama toilet la ngila ngawalwela uPanyaza uyazi umntwana wami ukuthi ngilwela kakhulu kabe ngalama toilet ukuthi bawasusa lama toilet lawo mara abakasiyakhi namanje lesikolo lesi saka 1996 namanje asikakakhiwa president joba ngiphetele ithombe lesi ngifuna ukukunikeza zone esandleni uhambe naso uzibone angifuna ukukhuluma into yakusasa.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ma. Thank you very much. Let's have a microphone.
Zonke zithathe president ngifuna ukuzibona mina ngikhaleli isikolo president athi isikolo president isikolo ngibuye eJohannesburg yobashela ukuthi mabakhe isikolo
mama ufuna isikolo
phela izukulu zami
isikolo thank you khawula president
ngiyacela
thank you
mntana wami
Panyaza sukuma na uzokhawula mama
ngiyacela Panyaza akheni iBarcelona Primary School.
All right marutlile thank you kisa microphone wakho.
And that access to education will be available to everyone.
So Panyaza Lesufi, you who wants all children to be in school, you who does not want any child discriminated against, as the MEC of Education, you failed to build a school in the Barcelona area even after years of being begged to do so by the residents. The school that you did build, Maibuye, is unsafe for the children to occupy. The status of public schools is below standard, from the infrastructure to the overcrowding. Instead of you sorting out this mess as the ANC, you keep deflecting the issue from yourself and making it about race, causing division in the country, making it seem like Afrikaans speakers are what cause the rest of the country's children to be in these poor condition schools. Tell us, Panyaza, what did the Afrikaans speakers do to get this school into this condition?
Lakeside Primary School in Boksburg is another school that was interrupted by an incomplete project, which was meant to upgrade the school, but only took its worst turn.
I think our school was at 95% in order, and now it's at 40%. Yes, teaching and learning is taking place, but under very difficult circumstances because our classrooms are in this state. So yes, I would say it's in a very, very bad state. I would say for the amount of money that was supposed to be spent at the school, we should have had a brand new school.
These are two of the schools that were built right here in Gauteng, where you are the boss, where the ANC is in charge. What are you saying about that? Oh, let's wait. The Public Protector has more to say about this.
The Public Protector's scathing report has found serious maladministration and irregularities in the construction of Maibuye Primary School. This despite the Gauteng government declaring it ready earlier this year with much fanfare. The report extensively highlights poor project management and planning by the Gauteng Department of Education and the Department of Infrastructure. Because of this, the school was built on the wrong place, on a sewer line adjacent to a wetland. The Public Protector's findings reveal that approval was granted without the necessary environmental authorization. The report also shows that a specialist wetland study was only commissioned by the Gauteng Department of Education after construction had already begun. Despite all of this, the department says the 82 million rand price tag for the project is justified.
Yes, I mean, looking at the school, the building, what you have in it, the number of classes, the prototype school that has an element of ECD, And we have a sporting facility and we have a hall.
One expert says the amount is a bit steep.
The planning leaves much to be desired because you can't build next to a wetland without doing an environmental impact assessment. So if an EIA was not done, then that again is questionable on the professional team that was there and their expertise in terms of whether they knew what they were supposed to do or not. And again, building above a sewer line, that's also a health hazard. The kids then are going to a school which is technically, parents are sending their kids into a health hazardous situation.
Some parents say they plan on taking their children elsewhere.
Next year,
Why?
Yeah,
it's a concern because sometimes unokubona nala a jardi uthola ugcwele yona storage la.
You love South African children so much that you will allow their school to be built over sewer lines and wetlands. You desire equality for black children so much that you would open up a school that did not meet health and environmental regulations. You are such a social justice warrior that you will allow 82 million rands meant for these children to be mismanaged like this. And somehow when you open your mouth, citizens believe that you really are empowered to help the poor black people and their children. What a sad, sad story. Wake up, South Africans. Wake up.
Okokuqala ngibonge nje nangubaba uLusufi ukhona la. Baba uLusufi wasibalekela la sikubizela indaba yesikolo isizuzile primary school. I-Department of Education usasekhona babesithembisa ukuthi isikolo sizokwakhiwa ngebudget ka 2017-2018. Until today leso sikolo sakakhiwa isikolo samazozo. Phansi ku floor akusahambeki ingane ziyawela phakathi. Besicela nisilungisele leyo nkinga leyo.
While you waste taxpayers' monies building schools that are dangerous for the school children attending them, you look around to see the schools being run by Afrikaners. They are so beautiful, so orderly, so well built and so cool. Is that why you want to take them over? Is that why you want to make sure you disrupt everything that your ANC hand has not tainted? How is this different from NHI? I mean, with NHI, we have a case of the ANC failing to maintain hospitals and clinics. Then they look jealously at the hospitals and clinics that other people have maintained, and they decide they want a piece of that. Do you see a similar trend in the education department? Panyaza Lesufi, you even had the audacity to cut the ribbon on such a school, a sewer school, a wetland school unsafe for pupils to occupy. Why don't you bring your children to learn at this school, Panyaza? Why should you force other schools to take more and more children when there is no space for them? When the main reason for this education mess is the ANC and them failing to make sure that they construct more schools to eliminate the overcrowding in schools. Overcrowding in schools will never end when there are such projects being built by the ANC. You still believe that the ANC cares for you and your children? Think again.
Kwena Combined School starts with grade R to grade 12. The school has 996 learners with 2 brick classrooms, 3 asbestos and 14 mobile classrooms. Parents claim classrooms are overcrowded, and this is a major problem. They say the ceiling is falling, electric wires are exposed, and windows are broken.
We have old classrooms, mobile classrooms, which is not well good for the children, and we have asbestos classrooms as well. So we don't need them anymore. We need them to be removed so that we can get a new classrooms that is well accommodated for the children. And the other thing on the school that the children, they're overcrowded.
These mobile classrooms are hot when it's hot, cold when it's cold. Children are fainting inside. Some are getting sick. and sicknesses spread, and we don't even have a proper kitchen. Frustrated parents claim the department promised to build them classrooms.
My daughter is doing grade 7, there are 82 learners in the class, so I don't think it's enough space for the teacher to move around the class when teaching the kids. We had a committee that came here at the school in 2022, so they promised us eight classrooms and the grade R facility, which was supposed to be done in the financial year of 2022 to 2023.
In the 2022-2023 financial year, the Education Department had allocated 24 billion rand for infrastructure projects. But due to backlog, the budget was prioritized elsewhere.
Poor project management, poor planning. Imagine that. 30% performance from your ANC-run province, and you want to lecture the country about inclusivity. Please close your mouth and go learn how to run municipalities and provinces. Make sure you learn to respect the fact that we are the ones that fund you and the corruption, incompetencies, and failures you keep putting our country through. More than 80 million rands possibly going to the bin because of your party failing to simply build a school on solid ground in the absence of sewage, Mr. Panyaza. This is not very difficult, Panyaza. If you want all our children to have facilities like the ones that the apartheid government was giving to Afrikaners, then build facilities simply copying how they did it. There is nothing special here. There is a way that has worked, that is working, and will keep on working. What's so hard about simply following that way and giving South Africans the same quality schools as the apartheid government gave their constituencies? Don't skip a step. Make sure you copy everything that those who have done it better before you did. To this day, you fail to replicate the way that works, the way of success. Awa, how hard can it be? I think you do it intentionally. Instead of choosing the way of success for South Africans, you say, we will be corrupt, we will not plan well, we will not have good project management, and we will make sure our teachers are lazy, and proudly brought to you by the trade unions in conjunction with the ANC. The ANC and its babies are a group of buffoons, fools of the lowest caliber known to mankind. They are a true embarrassment that should stop getting your votes and support. Sis, how can you complain about racial discrimination when you are the ones building substandard projects on wetlands for black pupils? Did you see the fool cutting a ribbon on a sewer school? This project is going to end up costing even more money, maybe even another 50 million knowing them. But hey, who cares? The taxpayer will sort it out.
So in a situation like this, there's a budget for a school, right? And I presume most of that money probably comes from your department. And you also then had to, and I think I recall at the time, there were people very angry, their children couldn't go to the school. You had to provide, as you say, temporary classrooms and structures. Do you get any of that money back? Or do you lose that money out of your budget? Or does it come back to you from the Department of Infrastructure?
No, it doesn't, because remember, it's utilized to build a school. So in essence, if there's additional funding that must be sourced, we have a responsibility to make sure that we source that. Because you will understand that a school, as it were, it must be functional. I mean, you can't build a school and then you leave it at that. That's why we had to intervene from the Department of Education to say we need to intervene because learners were in a temporary structure which was meant for a lesser number. Now the population has grown, numbers were very high. Even if when we launched, we had to, for a week, facilitate the process of having mobile units in the very same new school because the school was built for 1,200 learners. Now we are sitting with close to 2,000 learners. So we had to make sure that we facilitate a process of accommodating everyone at that school.
Few years later, taxpayers may have to pay again when parents sue the government for making their children sick. But hey, who cares? The taxpayer will sort it out.
Public Protector Advocate Koleka Qaleka has found that the Gauteng Education Department was wrong to start building the Mayibuya Primary School in Tembisa too close to a wetland. It seems that that wetland had also been contaminated by a sewage pipe. Steve Mabona is the spokesperson for the Gauteng Department of Education. Steve, good afternoon to you. How do you feel about these findings? From what I can see, the Public Protector is not pleased with the way your department handled this.
We need to clarify that we are the end user as the Department of Education. The Department of Infrastructure Development, they would have led the process to build a school. That's why in the report, each and every department, there's a remedial action that we need to take care of.
This guy, he wants to shine when the school is being opened, but wants to shy away from the mess they created at the same school. Both the Department of Education and of Infrastructure were headed by the ANC. So either way, ANC is to blame. Additionally, who in their right mind is going to get people to build their home without due diligence and then when the roof falls in, sit back and say, it wasn't me who put up that roof, it's the builders. Definitely not a person I want in an influential position in our country.
We need to make sure that we adhere to the Public Finance Management Act. We're going to do that. But Department of Infrastructure, they need to furnish the Public Protector with the investigation that they did, on procurement and on things that were not done. Because the report is quite clear that, yes, the wetland survey was not done, which is something that could have been prevented.
But presumably your officials would have done site visits, gone to see where, because you would have decided where you wanted the school. There's a sewage pipe right next to it. Surely someone said, oh, we shouldn't do it here.
Yeah, it's a parallel process. That's why I've indicated that some of the responsibility would have been on the door of Department of Infrastructure.
Since you know that there must be a license from the Department of Water Affairs, why did you not insist on that license before starting the building? Now you want to act like you are rescuing something that you caused as the ANC. Sure, hey.
So 2017 it was supposed to be handed over. It's 2024 now. That's a whole primary school's worth of children, 7 years, would have gone through it in that process. I mean, that's an astonishing delay. Is this what normally happens when the department builds schools for you?
No, I mean, that's why I was saying the problem, and there was, it took time for us to understand what is the problem. We cited, at that time they cited the wetland, and everyone was saying the school is built on a wetland, and without elaborating much. The remedial action must be implemented. The Premier is cited there as the, one must make sure that there's oversight.
What more can I say? Panyaza Lesufi and his ANC want to hide their failings to build enough quality schools across the country by telling you that Afrikaans schools do not want you. Will your focus be on the few Afrikaans schools that exist or on the fact that the ANC you voted for and still support failed to play their part of building you and your children quality schools? Let us know in the comments section below, please. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share the video with others, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm Katlego. This is Citizen Concerned. And until next time, beware of the comrades.